Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Um, the midterms are very close to coming, as you know. By the time this video will be released, it will be within a week of the midterm elections. And one of the things that I feel like I haven't done too many videos on, that theoretically I could, the House is really hard to make videos on, considering how many districts there are. But one that's manageable is the governor's races. I'm doing from a completely blank map. I'm going to try to blitz through the safe states, and the states that are closer, I will take a little bit more time on. But regardless, let's get started. First, the states that I deem safe for the Republicans: Alabama, Texas, Wyoming, Nebraska, Idaho, Massachusetts, surprisingly. Quick note: governors do not usually they aren't necessarily corresponding to presidential elections, as Massachusetts shows. Um, Another state, Tennessee and Arizona. Arizona is right now averaging around 14.7%. However, I think they can get up 0.3%. Safe Democrats, not as many. State of California, state of Hawaii, and state of New York. The likely Democratic states are next. State of Michigan, Pennsylvania, my home state, is definitely going. Um, Illinois, Minnesota, and the state of New Mexico, I believe, are all likely Democratic at this point. On the flip side of the equation, the likely Republicans: South Carolina, state of Maryland. Larry Hogan is very popular in the state of Maryland, especially for a Republican. Let's see here. Arkansas. No, sorry. Arkansas should have been in the safe category. Alaska. Bill Walker recently suspended his re-election campaign and endorsed a Democrat. However, I still believe in the end of the day, majority Republican state in an open seat will go. Um, Other states, Vermont and New Hampshire both um, are likely to go for the Republicans, even though they are solid blue states usually. Well, not so much New Hampshire, but that's regardless. And the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma is an open seat and a very heavy red state. Um, Next up is leaning Democratic, Oregon. Oregon is surprisingly close for a state that as blue as it. However, at the end of the night, the Oregon governor will be Democratic. Um, Colorado, Hickenlooper is getting term limited, so that means he's going to have to he was going to get replaced. And I find it very likely that Colorado will go for the Democratic Party. State of Maine, likely to also go, well, leaning Democratic at this point. I think that it is very possible it could go either way. However, right at this moment, I believe that the state of Maine will go Democratic. Um, Next up, we have Connecticut and Rhode Island. They both, I believe, I know Connecticut's open. I'm not sure about Rhode Island, but both of them are Democratic states without Republican incumbents. And at this point, I believe that they are leaning blue. State of Iowa went for Donald Trump, 2016. However, like I said earlier, governors do not necessarily correlate with how the presidential race goes, and Iowa is still a pretty toss-up state. And right now, with the momentum going more towards the Democrats, Iowa is definitely a state I think will flip. Also, we have Florida, Gilliam. I previously made an analysis into the predictions for the Florida governor's race. Gilliam versus DeSantis. Gilliam right now is pulling ahead by around 3.2%, I want to say. But overall, right now, things are looking pretty good for Bill Nelson and Gilliam in the state of Florida. And that's about all for the leaning Democratic states. Leaning Republican states. The state of Nevada. Their incumbent governor is fairly well liked. He's winning by about 0.8% in the polls. Ultimately, the state will be very close. However, I think at the end of the night, the Republicans can pull it out and keep an incumbent governor. Kansas, Chris Kobach defeated the incumbent by a very narrow margin in the Republican primary. Donald Trump Kobach was the incumbent who was defeated by a Trump nominated and sponsored challenger, and the challenger won. However, in this deep red state, I still believe that Kansas will go red. South Dakota is a deep red state. Right now, it is very close. It's a lot closer than it really should be. But at the end of the night, I think the Republicans will keep the seat. Now we're going to tilting Democratic territory. Ohio, who I believe the incumbent's last name is Brown. The incumbent's last name right now is John Kasich. John Kasich is the current governor. However, he is being term limited, like most governors are. John Kasich's successor, I think it'll be a very narrow margin. Ohio is slightly disapproving of Donald Trump, even though they voted for him in 2016. So I think overall, at the end of the night, it would be very close. However, I think the state of Ohio could flip. State of Georgia would be a flip. Brian Kemp, the incumbent governor, in a state that's usually pretty red. Stacey Abrams is condemning him for the voter roll purges and so many other things that he's being exposed for. Stacey Abrams has the momentum in this state, and I think it could be really close, but I think Stacey Abrams could pull it out at the end of the night. And finally, we have our friend Scott Walker in the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin is very much disapproving of the president. However, I think at the end of the night, Scott Walker will keep his seat by a very, very narrow margin. So that puts the final of the National Governors Association. Yes, it does exist. 26 Republicans and 24 Democrats. If you look at the states by party, you can see there are some states that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be Republican, being Republican, and some states you wouldn't necessarily expect being Democratic. So, thank you for watching this video. Comment down below what you think about all of this. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned for the closing stretch of a crazy midterm. Thanks for watching.